let's get this show on the road. I would like to note that our agenda has a public comments period, and accordingly, we have one public speaker. Mr. Bowden.
If I could have the noise in the back here. Gentlemen, meeting's in session. As a result of my 2 days in Washington 2 weeks ago, I've changed the way I do business. I am now the Chief Operating Officer of Concerned Grandparents, and I am delegating various tasks to various members of various committees. I've delegated to Jonathan Ballin the Scarsdale horns being blown at the Scarsdale station, to Chuck open rail cars, to Mitch crossing lights and horns at the railroad crossings. You're up, Polly. The signs that Bridges and Tunnels and the City of New York uses, the diagrammatic signs, are idiotic and banned in California because they're virtually useless to the driver. Nobody can see those little bitty things there. I sent you an email, picture yesterday of Cross Westchester. I took it on my way back from the emergency room. Urgent care. I don't go to emergency rooms. I took the picture of the sign with the arrows pointing up, which is, if they can do it in one place, you can do it all over. And then I counted the arrows on that sign when I got home. There were 14 arrows, every one of them pointing in the direction the driver was going. Drivers need consistent information. The down arrows were designed 50 years ago. They're useless. Drivers understand one arrow per lane. You've got little black and white signs on the side of the road. You've got them hanging on a pole. Give the driver consistent information. You just changed in New York City. You just lowered the speed limit to 25 miles an hour and then trying to make it safer. Wrong solution to the wrong problem. The problem is every crosswalk looks different to the driver and the pedestrian. They were designed 75 years ago and enhanced for the pedestrian because they were new. Nobody ever fixed it. And
30 seconds, Murray.
One of the problems is that when it gets to a situation like this and it's really serious and there's an opportunity to fix something, somebody tries to stop me. It's a lack of understanding that certain information has to be put out there. You're in a position to do two things. To make a uniform crosswalk in the City of New York, which is the parallel bars, which is used in Connecticut. There are no school crosswalks. That was designed before school buses. It's time to change. You're in a position to change it. It's your job. Alan thinks it doesn't take me very seriously. The truth of it is, I don't take him very seriously either.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Okay, moving the agenda, the approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion? Second. Any changes?
No changes to the work plan?
Okay. Okay, report on operations.
Report on operations by Mr. Fortunato. Jim?
Good afternoon. The report begins on page 18. Traffic was higher in November with 23.4 million crossings as compared with 23.2 million crossings in November of 13. This represents a 0.7% increase. Precipitation in November 2014 totaled 3.9 inches of rain and 1.3 inches of snow over 8 days versus 2.7 inches of rain and 0.2 inches of snow over 11 days in November of 13. November of 2014 gas prices averaged $3.03 per gallon, which is 47 cents lower than in November of 13. Easy Pass volume increased by 1.3% in November of 14 as compared to November of 13, while crossings using cash and other payment methods declined 2.3% for the month. Passenger car travel was up 0.8% and other vehicle travel decreased by 1.0% from November of 2013. Preliminary monthly traffic figures for December are 5.93% more than the same period last year. If there are no questions, this ends the report on operations.
If there are no questions, we'll move on to the safety report. Jim?
On pages 30 and 31, the chart showing the 5-year summary of customer collision and injury collisions and employee accidents reported and lost time injuries, and the 5-year summary of contractor injuries through November 2014. As you can see on page 30, total number at the total, customer and injury collision rates are down respectively 1.6% and 11%. On page 31, the number of employee lost time injuries were reduced 45% from the previous month and down 33% from the 2014 January to October monthly average. Please review these reports. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay.
If there are no questions, we can move on to the Easy Pass performance report and the financial report. Don?
Yep. Thanks, Jim. The Easy Pass report starts on page 33. The November market share was 84.6%, which is 0.3 percentage points higher than a year ago. More than 16,000 Easy Pass accounts were opened in November, about 41% of which were Easy Pass on-the-go accounts, and the on-the-go numbers, of course, continue to be driven by the in-lane sales, which are now up to 446,000 since the in-lane program began. If there's no questions on the Easy Pass report, I'll move on to the financial report on page 39. Through November, our toll revenue was $21.2 million better, about 1.4% than the July plan due to higher than forecast traffic. It was also about almost 0.5% better than November plan. Expenses through November were about 8.7% better than planned, $37.3 million. Non-labor spending about $28.9 million below plan. Non-labor, or rather, that was non-labor, about $28.9 million below plan. Labor was about $8.3 million, 3.6% below plan, primarily due to vacancies. And overtime was 8.1% below plan through November, about $1.6 million. And total support to mass transit through November was more than $944 million, about 9% better than planned. There's no questions. That concludes the financial report. Yep.
When do you think the RFK Plaza on the Bronx Plaza on the RFK Bridge is going to break 80%
Yeah.
Easy Pass?
I've been watching that too. I think we'll hope for next year. I mean, if you remember, it was in this mid-60s for a long time, so it's moved way up. But yeah, we're hoping for next year.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on to the capital program report. Joe?
Good afternoon. The report on the capital program begins on page 55. The report reflects the results for December as well as an overview of capital program performance for 2014 as a whole. In December, there were 32 commitments with a total value of approximately $619 million. The most noteworthy commitments made were a $287 million construction award for the restoration of the Hugh Carey Tunnel, a $218 million commitment for the reconstruction of the Bronx Toll Plaza, the RFK Bridge, and a $68 million construction contract for the reconstruction of the Manhattan approach spans at the RFK Bridge. Overall, in 2014, there were 171 commitments made with a total value of $808 million, or about 83% of plan. And this compares to a plan that called for 150 commitments with a total value of $976 million. Almost $140 million of the $168 million variance between actual and planned commitments is attributable to favorable construction bids. In terms of completions, as of September, B&T had achieved 100% of our 2014 completion goal, calling for 5 major completions with a cumulative value of $156 million. In addition, completion of the Verrazano Narrows Bridge Toll Plaza reconstruction project in November at $63.9 million, and the rehab and painting of the Throgs Neck Bridge approaches in December at $67.6 million was also realized. Both of these projects were completed several months ahead of schedule. Overall, for 2014, there were $287.5 million in completions, and that represents about 184% of plan. Finally, in terms of closeouts, there were 8 task-level closeouts in December for $201 million. For 2014 as a whole, there were 55 task-level closeouts with a total value of $267 million. Unless there are any questions, that concludes the report.
Any questions? Moving on.
No questions, we'll move on to procurement report.
Good afternoon. Procurement starting on page 73. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 5 competitive procurements this month. There is 1 personal service contract for independent safety monitoring services for our ongoing construction contracts in the amount of $2,306,818.38. There are 2 miscellaneous service contracts. One is a joint procurement with New York City Transit for body repairs for our fleet of light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles in the low bid amount of $481,550. Transit's amount is $653,070. These total $1,134,620. The other contract is for maintenance, repair, and safety inspection of our aerial lift equipment in the low bid amount of $153,400. There are 2 modifications, one to a personal service contract to modify 2 legal retainer agreements to exercise 1-year options at no cost to continue services in connection with toll and non-toll collection activities as needed. And 1 public work modification to add funding to complete an incentive payment for a successful early completion of work for the toll plaza and roadway improvements at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And this totaled $1,335,000. All procurement actions total approximately $4,930,000. Unless there are any questions, these procurements are detailed in the enclosed staff summary.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, I will note that there is no longer a quorum of the board in the room. There was a quorum when we began the meeting.
Technically, you can't leave. Quorum still exists.
Yes, so I will note that, but since I am voting in the affirmative with you and you, so it would be a majority of the quorum that existed when the meeting began. Thank you.
And that ends our report.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.